Okay guys, so we're over on page 208 of our World of Graphics book, and we're looking at question 3 here. So the orthographic views of an object are shown below. Create an isometric drawing of the object. Okay, so we're given an orthographic view. So we're given the elevation, so what it looks like from the front of the shape. We're given a plan, so what it looks like when we're looking down on the top of the shape, and we're also given an end view. Now we're only given 6 dimensions altogether, so we're going to have to make do with the 6 dimensions we're given. So we're going to start by drawing the orthographic. So we have 3 2D drawings here, and we're going to start by drawing that. We're then going to go and draw a freehand sketch of this as a 3D object. So what would this look like as a 3D object? Then we're going to draw it in isometric, and then we're going to draw it in Onshape and 3D model it. Okay, so we're going to start with the elevation. So we can see that the elevation is 20 mil high plus 50 mil, so 70 mil altogether high. And the width then isn't given here in the elevation, instead is given in the plan. So the width we can see here is 50 by 50, which is 100 altogether. So 100 wide, 70 tall. So I'm going to go over to my sheet, and I'm going to measure down from the bottom of my border. I'm going to measure down 90 millimeters, and just about halfway across the page I'm going to draw a line. That's going to be our X Y line in just a minute. So we said that the width of the shape is 100, so I'm just going to measure in from the side 10 mil, and then I'm going to measure 100 mil. Okay, so 100 wide, and as we said, it was 70 mil tall. Okay, so a rectangle now that's 70 tall and 100 wide. So our elevation is going to fit properly into that. The next one we want to draw is the one directly under it, which is a plan. And we know that that is a 100 by 100 square. Okay, so it's going to, the whole shape is going to fit in a 100 by 100 square. So I'm just taking all the largest measurements for now. Okay, so I'm just going to measure down 10 mil. Just leave a 10 mil gap in between both, and I'm going to measure down 100 mil then as well, because we know it goes down 100 mil and it's 100 mil wide as well. Okay, so the important part here is that we take this width and we just drop it vertically down. So that will give us 100 in the plan as well. And take we can take this width here as well from the elevation and drop that vertically down as well. Okay, so these sides are in line with each other. Okay, perfect. So the last thing we need to do is to do the end view. We know that there's no dimensions given for this end view over here. So what I can do is this point here, this corner, and this corner down here, I'm going to project them up at 45 degrees. Project that up at 45 degrees and project this one up at 45 degrees. Okay, and where they cut the XY line, which is at this point just here and this point just here, I'm going to project them vertically up. height doesn't change, so I can take the height from here and project that across. Okay, so our whole end view is going to fit inside this rectangle here. So I have the whole elevation is going to fit inside this one, the whole plan is going to fit inside this one, the whole end view is going to fit inside this one. Okay, so let's start doing a few of our measurements and a few of our firm lines. So I'm going to start with the elevation. So I know that it's 20 mil up, and also I can tell from the plan that this is 50 mil in here, just as it says here, and we follow this line up, we'll see that this is the same here. Okay, so I can draw in this rectangle here and this long rectangle here as well. Okay, so I'm going to have to measure 20 mil up. And 50 mil to find the middle of that. Okay, so I've now drawn my elevation. I've measured across 50 mil to get this point, so I can actually drop that vertically down now as well. Okay, so that will help me out in the elevation as well, or in the plan. So next thing we know is that this is a square that is 50 by 50 by 50 by 50. And we know that this corner is joined up to this corner. So that would be this corner being joined up to this corner, and it would be a 50 by 50 square here. So I need to measure it down 50 mil. And I can start drawing in a few of my firm lines now. Okay, so that's our plan now drawn, just like this. And the last thing we need to do is our elevation. So we can now transfer this point across here and up at 45 degrees to get this point, and then we can project it vertically up to get this line. Okay, so I'm going to project this line here up at 45 degrees to find it in the end view. And the height of this doesn't change in the different views, so this height is going to be the same height in the elevation and the plan, or the elevation and the end view. So I'm going to move up here and just transfer that height across. Okay, I can then start drawing in a few of my firm lines. Okay, so let's fix that. Okay, so that's our elevation now, our plan and our end view. The last thing I want to do is just label that XY line. And I'll be going back over this just to label this as the elevation, this is the end view, and this is the plan. So I'll be just doing that in a few minutes. Okay, the next thing I want to do is draw a freehand sketch of what this orthographic view would look like as a 3D. Okay, so I'm going to go over here, I'm going to use my light pencil, and I'm going to start by drawing a base that is approximately a square. Okay, so we want the base to be a fifth of the width dimension tall, okay, because that's 20, and the width dimensions then are 100 by 100. So this is just to try to get the proportion right, that this length here is approximately 5 times as long as this length. So that would help us get the proportions right. Okay, so I have my square base drawn, and from that I want to, I suppose you could say, extrude 50 mil up. Okay, so I'm just going to extrude on this corner here. Okay, and I'm kind of running out of space here, so I'm just going to extrude about this height, even though it should be a small bit taller. Okay, I'm going to continue this line down here to find this point and join back up here. Okay, so if you're having any difficulty with this sketch, I've done plenty and plenty of videos with you in the past about this, so just look back for any of them videos that'll help you do the sketching. But once you're finished your sketch, you can just get rid of a couple of these construction lines, and I'm just going to go over the firm lines then as well. So it's going to go over these firm lines. Okay, so there's our shape, now drawn as a freehand sketch. Okay, so I come back in a few minutes and I'm just going to label that the freehand sketch. I'm going to do all that then at the end. Okay, so just to tidy up my sheet and make everything look nice. Okay, so we have our orthographic views, we have our freehand sketch. Now we want to do our isometric. Okay, so for an isometric, we're starting the same as we started this freehand sketch. We're going to start with this crow's foot, which is a line up here at 30 degrees, a line up here at 30 degrees, and a vertical line straight up. Okay, so I'm going to start this one fairly close to the bottom of the sheet. Okay, and I'm going to draw a line, a construction line up here at 30 degrees, a construction line up to the right at 30 degrees, and a vertical line straight up. Okay, and we're going to start with the base. So we know that the base is altogether is going to be 100 by 100, and then there's a cut taken out of it, like there's a cut taken out of the plan over here as well, like we've taken this cut out of it as well. But before we take the cut out, it's going to be 100 by 100. So I have my isometric axis set up here, so I'm going to measure over to the right 100 mil, over to the left 100 mil, okay, so I've measured up to the right here on the isometric axis 100 mil, and I've just done a little mark here. Measured up to the left 100 mil, and I've just done a little mark there as well. And I'm going to measure vertically up 20 mil, okay, because the height of this here is 20 mil, the height of this 20 mil, okay. Measuring vertically up 20 mil. Okay, and I'm just using my 30/60 set square, so I've obviously measured up here at 30 degrees. That means that this is going to go back here at 30 degrees, and it means that this here is going to go back at 30 degrees. Okay, I've gone up vertically 20 on this one, so I'm going to send that back here 30 degrees, and this back here 30 degrees. Okay, so what I've done, I'm only using 30 degree lines. I've gone 30 degrees in this direction and 30 degrees in this direction, 30 degrees in this direction, moved up 20, 30 degrees in this direction. I've measured up 100, and I'm going to go vertically up now until it cuts this line, and I'm going to go vertically up until it cuts this line. So vertical until it cuts this line at this point here, and vertical over here until it cuts this line at this point here. Okay, and these points now are going to be sent back at 30 degrees, back at 30 degrees. Okay, so that is the base of my shape now drawn out, and I can now measure over 50 here and draw a 30 degree line up here like this, and I'll find a point here that would be like finding this point, and I can drop that point then vertically down, and if I drop it vertically down it's like finding this point, and I can join them points then over to this corner, and that's going to give me this slanted edge here. Okay, so to do that, I'm just measuring in 50 mil here. Okay, in 50 mil along this line. I'm going to send it vertically up Okay, and up here 30 degrees then. Okay, and that has found me this point here, and as I said, that's the equivalent of finding this point here. And I can drop that vertically down with a construction line. And again, that's the equivalent, dropping it vertically down, dropping this vertically down, finding this point here. Okay, and I can draw in two firm lines here. And we should start to see our shape coming together a small bit. Okay, so that's as much of our shape as we can draw at the minute, because we also need to extrude a 50 by 50 square. How far do we have to go? 50 mil up. So we're actually just going to draw a cube onto this surface here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a vertical construction line from this point and this point. I'm going to measure it out here 50 mil, and I can draw a line then back here to find measuring out here 50 mil as well. And I'm going to send two vertical lines up there. I'm going to measure up one of them lines 50 mil, and I'm going to go around with my 30 degree lines, and I'm going to draw in my firm lines then as well. Okay, so the first thing first, I'm going to draw up a vertical line here. I'm going to measure up that 50 mil. That's going to find me that point right there. I'm going to project up a line from this corner as well, construction line. I'm going to measure in here 50 mil. That's going to find me this point right here. And I'm going to project that point back in, and that point vertically up as well. Vertically up and vertically up. Okay, so I've extruded a 50 mil square up off the top of that now, and that is our shape complete. Okay, so that now is the isometric drawing of that shape finished, and the last thing we want to do is open up Onshape and have it go modeling that on Onshape. Okay, so I've opened up Onshape, and I'm going to go up to create here, and I'm going to create a document, and I'm going to call this one isometric drawing. This is number 3. Okay, and I'm going to click OK. So on shape then is going to load this workspace, and we're going to be greeted with our 3 planes again, our top, front and our right, and our origin at the middle of it. Okay, so if we go back to our shape here and go into this one, we know that the base is a 100 by 100 square with this section cut out of it. So I'm going to start by doing that, the 100 by 100 square. Okay, so to do that I want to click on sketch, and now it's asking me, okay, so what plane do you want to sketch onto? I want to sketch onto this top plane. So now we see sketch 1 is on the top plane. I now want to look directly in at that, so I want to look as in looking down onto the plan of the shape. So I'm going to click on the top. So this is me looking straight down on top of that. I can zoom in and out here as I please. So we know that it's a 100 by 100 square that we're starting with. So I'm just going to sketch a center point rectangle. Go to the center point, click once, and then drag it out like this. Okay. Get it as close to 100 by 100 as we can. Doesn't really matter because now we're going to dimension it. 100 by 100. So that's our square, 100 by 100. But we see now that that is only a 2D shape. So I can click this green square. So we see that 2D shape. So it's like the top plane, just after drawing a square onto it. Now what we want to do, we want to make it into a 3D. So we're going extruding. And we're going to select on this because they want to know, okay, well, what do you want to extrude? I want to extrude this. And by default it gives us 20 mil, but I actually wanted them to bring it out 20 mil. Okay, just like it is in the drawing, it has to come out 20 mil. Green tick. Okay, perfect. So next thing we want to do is to sketch onto that top plane. So I'm going to look at that top plane again, and this time I want to sketch again, and it's going to say, okay, well, what do you want to sketch onto? I want to sketch onto this top plane, and this time instead of choosing the corner rectangle, I'm going to the center point rectangle, I'm going to choose this corner point rectangle. Okay, so selected that, moving over to this corner and dragging it into the origin, and we'll see there that we're already given a 50 by 50 square. Perfect. Green tick. What do I want to do with that 50 by 50 square? I want to extrude it. So click on extrude, and I want to choose this square that I want to extrude, and we see that it's extruding it by default 25 mil. We don't want to do that, we want double that, so we're going to go 50 mil. Green tick once you're finished, and that now has extruded a cube out of the shape. So exactly what we wanted to do. The last thing we want to do is look down onto the plan again, and this time we're going to take a cut out of this section here. So I want to sketch again, and I want to sketch onto this surface, but this time I want to sketch a line, and that line is going to start horizontally from the origin. It's going to come down here, it's going to touch this point. It's then going to, so one click once it touches that, it's then going to move down here to the corner, one click, and it's going to move up here, one click. Okay, so that's our triangle there. Green tick that again, and we want to extrude that triangle. Okay, so make sure you close that triangle, that's not just a line. If it's just a line, we won't be able to do this. So you see here that by default it's extruding it by 25 mil. So I want to extrude it by 20 mil, but instead of adding, I want to actually remove surfaces. Okay, so clicking on remove, green tick. Okay, so there's our shape now, and that's what it would look like in the plan, isn't it? So it would look like that in the plan. Okay, what would it look like in the elevation? It would be like looking in here. And what would it look like in the end view? It would look like this. Okay, so you can play around with that yourselves. The last thing I like to do is just to hide or suppress these 4 planes and the origin, and that's my shape there. And I can look at it in from this angle, or I can look at it from this angle here, whichever you like. So I think this is the one that we drew. So it would be like looking in like here. The last thing I want to do is I want to share that. And I want to share it with my teams. And which team do I want to share that with? I want to share it with the second year TG. So share that. Okay, that's been shared now. So you can just do that at the end as well. Close that. The last thing I'm going to do is just maybe do a print of that, print it out and stick it onto my sheet. Okay, just to finish off the worksheet, I would stick on the orthographic or the isometric projection, and I would just label all of these views. Okay, so that now is my drawing finished. So I have the elevation, end view and the plan all labeled, and I've also just coloured in this surface here, so this sloped surface here, the one that's been cut. Okay, so just colour that one in yellow in all views. So in the elevation I would see it as just this small section here. In the end view I'd be looking in from here, so I'd be seeing all of it. From the plan I can't actually see it, but I know it's this surface here, so I could actually even have a yellow arrow in here just to show that it would be in here. And I have all my drawings labelled, and that would be the drawing complete. If you have access to a printer, then you could just maybe stick in the 3D model of that as well. Okay, so I hope you found this helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.